So 24 states have now demanded that Congress finally pass the bill which aims to create national concealed carry reciprocity. So let's break down what just happened. Now, before we jump into this video, I want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is First Form. You guys know that First Form is an amazing company. They have great supplements, protein powder, pre-workout, everything you need to get healthier. I've been using them kind of on my journey to get healthier. But one of the really cool things about this company is they're pro-freedom, pro-America. They support the Second Amendment. They're not afraid to say that. And they just do amazing things, again, because they're a made in America company, pro-America, and they believe in the things that we do. So if you're trying to get some supplements, get healthier, check out this company, First Form. I highly recommend them. You can use my link down below. And if you order something $50 or more, you'll get a free 4-pack of energy drinks. So like I mentioned in the intro, a new bill has been introduced into Congress, which aims to create national concealed carry reciprocity. The bill we're going to be talking about in this video is H.R. 38, also known as the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. This bill comes off the heels of recent promises by President Trump that he would sign into law national concealed carry reciprocity if he was in office and if it ever came to his desk. Well, now Congress has introduced this bill to fulfill that promise, and it's passed the House committee, and it's supposed to head to a vote on the House floor. This bill aims to eliminate the invisible lines that bar individuals from exercising their Second Amendment rights in certain states because these invisible lines suddenly make your permit useless. This effort, like I mentioned, passed in the committee and it's supposed to head towards a House vote, but it's currently stalled. Since the effort has stalled out, 24 state attorney generals have sent a letter to the House demanding that there is a vote in this, that the House take up a vote and ultimately pass this reciprocity bill. The 24 states included in this demand letter are Oklahoma, West Virginia, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. Now, one of the big issues with concealed carry permitting is that some states refuse to recognize another state's carry permits. It makes it a crime for an out-of-state visitor to carry lawfully within this new state that they come into. This bill, which has been introduced, seeks to fix that very problem. The act would allow for those who live in concealed carry or constitutional carry states to carry in other states lawfully. It aims to make it lawful for you to go to visit another state and carry concealed under your permit process that you have in your home state, or to also carry in another state if your home state is constitutional carry. Now, what does the text of this bill say and do? Well, it states that the only thing that would be required for you to concealed carry in another state would be for you to have a valid state ID from your home state, and that's really all that would be required if your state is a constitutional carry state. The other option is if your state is not constitutional carry and you have a carry permit system, all you would need is your concealed carry permit that you lawfully got in your home state. That would include even liberal states like New York, California, New Jersey, and others, and potentially even states like Hawaii, or it would include states like Hawaii, even though they have these hyper-restrictive concealed carry laws. So under this bill, if you're ever visiting another state and you're pulled over or come into contact with police and they find out that you're concealed carrying, they can't arrest you, detain you, or do anything else to you as long as you have a valid permit in your home state or you have a state ID if your state is a constitutional carry state. Now, recently this bill passed through the committee hearing, but since then it's pretty much stalled out and we've been waiting for a vote to happen in the House. But now 24 state attorney generals have jumped in, demanding that the House finally take up a vote on this and pass this bill and move it on to the Senate. In the recent demand letter, they state that we, the undersigned attorney generals of 24 states, urge Congress to pass H.R. 38. The perspective we offer comes from our experience as the chief law officers of our states, all of which either recognize the right of law-abiding citizens to carry concealed handguns without a permit or grant full recognition to concealed carry credentials issued by other states. Simply put, we know firsthand that recognizing a broad right of concealed carry among law-abiding Americans promotes public safety and respects the fundamental liberties of our constituents. It is with these constituents in mind that we urge Congress to pass H.R. 38. News reports and commentary sometimes misconstrues which H.R. 38 does and whom it would benefit. We therefore believe it is helpful to reiterate certain facts about the legislation. First, H.R. 38 is aimed at the law-abiding gun owners. It categorically excludes anyone who is prohibited by federal law from possessing, transporting, shipping, or receiving a firearm. This exclusion encompasses persons convicted of felonies or misdemeanors punishable by more than 2 years in prison. Some anti-gun pundits have criticized H.R. 38 as a violation of states' rights, a concept that would have been completely unfamiliar, if not repugnant to some of these same pundits in any other context. This criticism, however, is unfounded. The legislation does not change any state laws, nor prescribe for states how to provide for lawful concealed carry within their borders. States are free under H.R. 38 to establish independent requirements for any concealed carry credential issued by the state and make publicly owned property off limits to carry. They may also, within constitutional limits, establish their own rules of behavior concerning the display, brandishing, discharge, or use of guns in public, as well as the terms of defensive force. H.R. 38 additionally recognizes the right of property owners to establish their own policies for carrying of guns on private property. Another criticism is that H.R. 38 would prevent police from doing their jobs. This is obviously not true, as permitless carry is now the majority rule in the United States, and police departments in such states continue to protect and serve the public as before. H.R. 38 recognizes the authority of police officers encountering an individual with a concealed firearm to conduct an appropriate investigation stop consistent with Terry v. Ohio to determine the lawfulness of the behavior and whether the person meets the threshold for protection under this act. If the individual does not meet the act's thresholds, state law, including any licensing requirements or possession restrictions, remain fully enforceable. Any criminal conduct occurring in tandem with the firearms possession would, of course, remain subject to the full extent of state law. Finally, critics of H.R. 38 complained that it would force states with strict permitting standards to accommodate carriers from jurisdictions with more lax requirements. What this typically means, however, is that some states, despite the U.S. Supreme Court's rulings to the contrary, make getting a carry license as expensive, burdensome, and bureaucratic as possible, simply to discourage citizens from exercising that right. But failure to acknowledge the right is not the same thing as permitting only the safest people to carry. There is substantial evidence that concealed carry licensees are more law-abiding than the general population, yet there is zero evidence that any state has better standards for screening out dangerous individuals with its licensing regime than any other state, especially considering H.R. 38. New York, for example, used to limit the number of people who carry by forcing applicants for a license to demonstrate an extraordinary need for self-defense. This had nothing to do with choosing the safest applicants, and indeed, the may-issue nature of this regime promoted corruption within New York City's licensing authority, with officials convicted of accepting bribes to issue licenses, even those who had failed the objective requirements of the licensing regime. Also, Los Angeles limits the number of people who carry by charging exorbitant fees and making applicants wait a year or more for their license to be issued. That has prompted a civil rights investigation by the Department of Justice, but it has not resulted in only safer people being issued licenses in LA. Criminals, in our experience, do not wait for permission to carry guns. H.R. 38 is not for them. It is for the honest and law-abiding citizens who deserve to have the means to protect themselves should they have the misfortune of needing to use a firearm in self-defense or the defense of their loved ones. Concealed carry is a constitutional right, and it can have substantial public safety benefits by allowing people the means to respond to emergent threats to themselves or to others when police are not immediately available to intervene. Yet our constituents are threatened with arrest, prosecution, and mandatory prison time for technical violations of licensing or possession laws involving conduct that is perfectly legal in all but a handful of states, most of which have well-established history of practice of suppressing the right to keep and bear arms. This is unacceptable, and Congress has the authority and the duty to protect these rights. We therefore urge the passage of H.R. 38 and look forward to continuing to welcome law-abiding gun owners from across the country to our own jurisdictions. So the 24 states have pushed back against the anti-gun narratives surrounding this entire bill, and they urge the House to finally take up a vote and pass this bill. With Republicans controlling Congress and Trump as president saying that he would sign this type of bill into law, there's a strong chance that we can get this pushed, but we need the House to take this up for a vote and pass it through the House so we can then get it to the Senate, and then we will focus on pressuring the Senate and all those members to vote in favor of this concealed carry reciprocity bill. So that's what's currently happening in this concealed carry reciprocity effort in Congress. That's what's happening in this bill. You now have 24 states jumping on board and pressuring Congress, pressuring the House to finally take up a vote and pass this bill. So we're going to see how this develops. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.